Founded by Voortrekker leader Hendrik Potgieter way back in 1849, Lydenburg is these days the center of the fly fishing industry in South Africa and is an important agricultural and mining area. With a rich historical background and some of the best scenery in South Africa, the Mpumalanga area is also a major tourist attraction for South African and overseas visitors.
The Mpumalanga region and Lydenburg have also had an important role to play as hosts for the last 9 years to a round of the ABSA Off-Road Championship. The Toyota Dealer 400 was this year round 2 of the ABSA series, which is made up of 8 events in South Africa and neighbouring Botswana. Events on the ABSA Off-Road calendar bring into regions where there are staged a cash injection of around 4 million rand as teams and off-road enthusiasts from South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho and Swaziland converge on race centres. New seasons bring new members to the off-road family, as well as old stalwarts like Hugo and Jaap de Bruin, who missed the whole of the 2010 season. The de Bruins were back in action as newcomers to the Atlas Copco off-road team.
We were very fortunate to having come back to race this year. Luckily, Ferry de Vos from Toyota phoned us and said we can have this bucket, the old bucket from Duncan from last year. And well, what it pretty is we only got it 3 weeks before the event, so we had to just prep it quickly to get it race ready. But the bucket feels good. It's a lot better than the bucket we used to. I think the only problem is going to be that we are going to be a little bit rusty. I mean, it's been a year since we raced the last time, but I'm full of confidence. I think it will go well for us.
There was also a significant development at Team Ford. After a season in Class E and 1 race in Class D, teenager Lance Woolridge and Ward Huxtable moved up to the Premier SP class.
We decided after the last race with everything with D class, we thought it would be better for Ford and for me in the future to convert the old Class D car into a SP. We had all the parts already there from the SP the year before. It was a lot of work for the guys, and they were still working on Wednesday, 4 in the morning, getting the car ready in time. But they did an excellent job, and they've got us out to the race.
Another significant move saw the debut of the new RFS BMW X3 in the hands of young Pretoria crew Christian de Plooy and Henk Janse van Vieren.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to it. We haven't done any testing. The car came from the dyno yesterday morning straight onto the truck, and yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what it does on the dirt. So yeah, we're looking forward to the race.
After a win on the opening round of the ABSA Championship, veterans Hannes Grobler and Henny Tersteege were early championship leaders ahead of Thomas Rundle and Jean Moore and Northwest Province veterans Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux.
With rival teams better prepared this time around, Hannes Grobler was expecting a difficult race.
Very, very, very tough, you know. I'm sure that the Toyotas will be sorted and they will be very quick. The Ford is going to be very quick. You know, our cars, the Christian's car hasn't run on the gravel yet, so he's going to, you know, see what the car goes like. But I think there's a lot of other guys that's got their cars and their things going, so yeah, I think competition is going to be great.
The draw where seeded crews pull their start positions for the Donaldson Prologue out of a hat is always a light-hearted affair. The Prologue determines start positions for the race proper, and number 1 on the road is not a preferred position. First on the road puts the crew in a pathfinder role, but first Anthony Taylor and then Rob Howie contrived to see to it that the 2 Castrol Toyota Hilux entries started first and second ahead of Thomas Rundle and Jean Moore in the Baden Tyre Services Nissan Navara.
All I can say, it's beep. No, definitely not. It's exactly what I didn't want, but we just have to make it work and hopefully try and resolve the best what we can out of it. And let's hope further on in the route it's not as much grass as what we see here at the beginning. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
There was a good sprinkling of team personnel and enthusiasts at the start of the 53-kilometre Donaldson Prologue. With off-road racing hugely competitive these days, and as in Formula 1, a good start position is imperative, crews go into the Prologue in a no-holds-barred frame of mind. The Prologue is an integral part of the race weekend and provides crews with an inkling of what conditions to expect in the race.
The Prologue was run to the south of Lydenburg, with the opening section of the route running between the R536 Machadedorp and R540 Dullstroom roads in the direction of Bultkorp. The route then doubled back to the start-finish at the Lydenburg Rugby Club.
The name Leidenburg means town of suffering, and over the race weekend, crews would be happy to tell you it was a rather apt description. Long grass made visibility difficult, and the route was wetter than most people expected. Former South African champion Duncan Foss and Rob Howie made light of the conditions and set the pace in the production vehicle category. The Team Castor Toyota Hilux was 65 seconds ahead of privateers Gary Bertolt and Andre Vermeulen, who adopted a more conservative approach in the Atlas Copco Toyota Hilux. Hannes Grobler and Henny ter Steege were a solid third in the diesel-powered RFS BMW X3 and in tricky conditions managed to maintain a steady pace. Grobler has been racing for more than 30 years and along with ter Steege brings to the party plenty of experience.
The Baden Tyre Services Nissan Navara of the vastly underrated Thomas Rundle and Jean Moore picked up minor brake problems, with the pair finishing just 1 second ahead of Yanni Visser and Joks Leroux in the international Toyota Hilux. The Northwest Province pair were the surprise package on the opening event of the season in the Western Cape, and 5th place was another solid performance from them. Only 11 seconds in arrears were Harry Smith-based Kobus van Tonder and Freddie Krill, who also put together a solid run in the Unifreight Ford Ranger.
After starting first on the road, Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin gradually slipped back in the second Castor Toyota Hilux to finish 7th. They also lost time stopping to clean the radiators, which was clogged up with grass. It was often tough going in the wet and slippery conditions, and Taylor and Birkin were around half a minute slower than Van Tonder and Krill. The Toyota crew had 35 seconds to spare over Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson, who hit a small rock on what Whitehouse described as a high-risk, high-reward route. Charging along behind Whitehouse and Carlson were Regent Racing Nissan Navara teammates Terence Marsh and George Smallberger, who lost time when the Navara's engine management system went into limp mode and had to be reset.
When Peter Ruthven and Rudy Brits bogged down in a mud hole, a little convoy of cars formed behind the temporarily stricken Rubicon Racing Toyota Hilux. A tow rope is essential equipment on an off-road race, and Rudy Brits were standing by when Hugo and Jaap de Bruin appeared on the scene, with Dewald van Breda and Johan de Klerk right behind them. The Rubicon Toyota was quickly extricated from the mud hole, and the little convoy was soon making forward progress once again.
There is never really a shortage of vantage points on an off-road race, and next up for our little convoy was a river crossing. The Bloemfontein-based pair of Peter Ruthven and Rudy Brits led the way in the Rubicon Toyota Hilux, and there were also no problems for the De Bruin father and son team in the Atlas Copco Micron Excel Toyota.
Bringing up the rear were Dewald van Breda and Johan de Klerk, with the Potchefstroom pair making their first appearance of the season in the Potch Plastics Toyota Hilux. Behind them, an awkward debut for Christian de Ploy and Henk Janssen van Vieren in the new petrol-powered RFS BMW X3 was about to come to an end. The car was overheating, and when the BMW bogged down in the mud, de Ploy and Janssen van Vieren decided to call it a day.
Forward progress was a lot smoother and more effective for Louw de Bruin and Rian Greiling, who were to finish just out of the top 10 in the Rubicon Racing Ford Ranger. The Bloemfontein pair have come up with some recent good results that has seen their confidence reach new levels. After switching from the special vehicle category to production vehicles, de Bruin and Greiling are now seasoned SP class campaigners. Reigning South African champions Chris Visser and Japie Badenhorst are also seasoned campaigners, and their second outing for the factory Ford racing team had a disappointing sting in the tail. Hoping to give Ford a second successive Toyota Dealer 400 win, the pair were going along comfortably enough when a puncture 10 kilometers from the finish absolutely ruined their day.
There was success for the Rubicon Racing team when Gerald Leroux and new co-driver Walter Hickley set the fastest time in Class C in the Rubicon Ford Ranger. An added feather in their cap was finishing ahead of Class D pace setters Dion Venter and Ian Palmer in the 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux. Mitigating factors for the reigning Class D champions were time lost at a river crossing and running the last 5 kilometers with a flat front left tire.
Bearing down menacingly on the Class D champions were teenager Lance Woolridge and Ward Huxtable, with the KwaZulu-Natal pair feeling their way in their SP Class debut in the Team Ford Ranger. Running in tandem behind the Ford crew were a couple of Class E newcomers in Gene Boshoff and Ian Boshoff in a pair of LG Toyota Hilux entries. In keeping with the development plan put in place by the South African National Off-Road Car Racing Association, the Boshoff brothers move into the national arena this season after campaigning in the Northern Regions Championship. Although equipped with four-wheel drive, the water, mud and slippery conditions made it tough going for the four-cylinder Class E cars. Chasing after the Boshoffs was father and son Jack and Cyril Oosthuizen, who were over 7 minutes down on the Class D leaders in a Land Rover. Brothers Johan and Werner Horn completed the classified finishes in the Malalan Toyota Land Cruiser.
Back at race headquarters, there were happy campers and not so happy campers, with Gary Berthold predicting a return to the drawing board for many teams.
A lot of mud out there. I think we're all going to have to slow the pace down a little bit. I think we're going to have to keep it on the straight and narrow because the mud was very bad today. A lot of guys got stuck after us, behind us. So tomorrow morning, I think it's going to be treacherous.
Rubicon Racing's Class E pace setter Gerald Leroux was among the happy campers, with new co-driver Walter Hickley quickly feeling at home in the car.
No, it went well. We didn't go as fast as we would have liked. We've got a new navigator, but he did fine. We wrong slid it 3 times, I think, but we're happy to be here in one piece.